Great. Good afternoon, everyone. We are starting our meeting, the Solid Waste Commission meeting, today being Thursday, March 10th, 3 o'clock. And we will start with introductions. Rick, please.
Rick Winterhalter, Clackamas County staff.
Chad, you're the next one in my view. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Chad Euler, unincorporated county resident.
Evan?
Yes, hi everyone. Evan Polk, Clackamas County Sustainability and Solid Waste staff.
Julie?
Hi everyone, Julie Hamilton, Clackamas County Public Health Representative. Sorry.
Carlton, please.
Good afternoon, Carlton Palmier. I work for Waste Management.
Thank you, Carlton. Bill?
Bill Potter, Commissioner at Large, rural Clackamas County.
Thank you. Alan?
Alan Bushy with B&B Leasing.
And Shemaya?
Shemaya Becerra, Administrative Specialist for Sustainability and Solid Waste.
Thank you. And I'm Carrie Creighton, Chairman of this committee. Also a public person.
One other commissioner.
I'm sorry?
Did we miss a commissioner?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Cheryl. I'm sorry. You moved spots on me when somebody.
No worries. No worries.
I'm sorry.
Cheryl Bell, I use your pronouns. I'm Assistant Director of Development for Clackamas County, and I'm a commissioner on the board.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to approve our February 18th minutes. I'm assuming everyone had a chance to read those. Are there any additions or corrections? Any comments? If not, I will entertain a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Chad. It's been moved. Seconded?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, moved and seconded, approved. Thank you. Our third agenda item is expanded recycling services presentation. A presentation by Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association. Rick, would you like to introduce that?
Well, so our the collectors, our franchisees have a presentation similar to, well, I mean, we heard a presentation from a company at our last meeting, and the collectors have put together a program as well and would like to share that with you. And I think Maya is working on letting the presenters in and setting up that presentation right now.
All right, thank you.
So might take a second.
I'll just jump in and say, as they're adding folks, I was asked if I wanted to join as a panelist, so I went ahead and said yes, but I'm not planning on speaking. So folks may have a little bit of challenges getting in because it is helpful if we can get the password and the ID numbers or those two numbers. For me, I had to join on my phone because the link, it's complicated, but when I remote in, it's hard to make it work. And I see, it looks like Carla is having issues getting in for the same reason. So if somebody could email to us or to me the actual meeting ID and password, that would be great, instead of just the link.
Shemaya, is that something you can do or?
I will work on that.
Oh, okay, thanks, Evan.
Yeah, I think Maya may need to be moderating. Is that okay?
Yes,
Sure.
thank you.
Okay.
So probably most people can join from the link, but I know because of my remoting in, it's hard. I have to manually enter numbers, and if I don't have them, I can't do it.
No, yeah.
Because I can't copy and paste off the PDF. It wouldn't allow me to do that. So sorry, but
No.
I think that's part of
It's good to know.
Carla's issue.
Beth, let me know when you would like for me to share the screen.
Well, we're waiting for Carla.
We're
to
waiting
get
for
in.
our first speaker is Carla Schaeffer. Sorry. So
Yeah, we need to get her in. In the meantime, Madam Chair, if you wish, we could have the presenters that are here go ahead and introduce themselves. Possibly.
Sure. So Beth, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
I'm not going to be speaking, but
Oh,
I'm
please,
Beth
yours is
Vargas
okay.
Duncan. I'm the regional director with Oregon Refuse and Recycling Association. And in that capacity, I staff the Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association folks. And so I'm not here. I'm here today just with that group.
All right, thank you. Pamela.
Yes, I'm Pam Bloom. I am president and owner of B&B Leasing Company.
And Carla.
Yes, I am Carla Schaeffer. I am with Sunset Garbage. I don't see my video. Do you see a video?
I don't see your video either.
But you do hear me.
We do hear you.
Okay.
A voice in the dark.
It is. And I can kind of keep working on that, but I think I'll leave it as is for the.
And Josh.
Hello, everyone. Madam Chair, my name is Josh Brown. I'm the district manager for Aero Sanitary Service. Appreciate the opportunity today.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your being here.
And
so until we have that video, is there any?
Well, I think.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, if we are ready, Carla, if you're ready, we can go ahead and start.
I am ready. And I'm under the impression that Shemaya is going to just advance our slides as we ask her to. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you again for giving us this opportunity this afternoon. And again, my name is Carla Schaeffer. I do own or co-own Sunset Garbage Collection Incorporated. And I am also the current president of Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association. We have put together a presentation for you today that provides an enhanced recycling program to residents of Clackamas County under the existing rate-regulated franchise system. We are excited to expand recycling opportunities that have a positive environmental benefit, and we look forward to bringing these opportunities to all residents of Clackamas County. If I could ask for slide number 2, please. Thank you. A little introduction as to who we are. The Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association is made up of all 9 rate-regulated franchise companies that serve Clackamas County in both unincorporated areas and cities, from urban density to mountain. We are a blend of national companies and 5 family-owned companies. 4 of our companies include women owners, and some companies like mine are very small with only a dozen employees, and some companies even less. We have worked with Clackamas County and staff for over 50 years to develop, adopt, implement, educate, and manage the highly efficient and sustainable franchise solid waste and recycling system that we have today. Slide number 3, please. With keeping the enhanced recycling program under a franchise system will ensure that only those items with a positive environmental benefit will be collected and marketed. The enhanced recycling service fees would be publicly rate regulated and offered to all county residents. Rate regulated franchise haulers do provide living wages with benefits. A franchise enhanced recycling program would be route efficient and neighborhood friendly, as our trucks are already in those neighborhoods. Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association has worked hard to cooperatively build programs and provide services throughout the county. We share the same goals and community values with Clackamas County, with Metro's 2030 Regional Waste Plan and state laws. At this point, I would like to again just thank you for the opportunity to present our franchise enhanced recycling program. And I'm going to just quickly pass it over to Josh Brown with Aero Sanitary Service, Waste Connections. And we will continue our presentation with a little bit more program details. Thank you.
All right, thank you again, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak. As I said, my name is Josh Brown, District Manager for Aero Sanitary Service. I'm also currently the Secretary for Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in the garbage and recycling business my whole life and had the opportunity to lead companies in very established, regulated, and successful markets, all of which were franchised in Nevada, Idaho, Montana, and now Oregon. Aero and our acquired companies such as American Sanitary Service are proud to have been part of the Clackamas County franchise system for decades. We could go to, let's see, what slide are we on? Could we go to slide 4, please, Shemaya? So as noted on this slide, our goal is to make this as easy for everyone as possible and to offer expanded recycling within the existing franchise system. Since 1970, Clackamas County and the rate-regulated haulers have worked together to adopt new standards and implement new programs, many of which expanded recycling services. We started with separated recyclables in bins, then mixed recyclables in bins, then mixed recyclables in roll carts. And throughout that time, we have added materials to what is currently collected at the curb. We continue to grow and innovate services within the franchise system. This enhanced recycling program is one more example. I will explain CCRA's proposal next. If we could go to the next slide, please. We are proposing to collect these 5 materials: household batteries, clamshells, clear plastic film, textiles, and compact fluorescent light bulbs. The collection of batteries could start first. Next slide, please. So here I'll go over a little bit about each of the commodities. Household batteries first. We would ask the customers to collect household batteries, including alkaline 9-volt batteries, rechargeable, and any button cell, such as a watch or rechargeable batteries. For safety and handling, we would ask our customers to tape the ends of these batteries, AAA, AA, D batteries, they don't need tape. And we would ask them to place them in a clear Ziploc bag on top of the glass inside the existing glass bin for collection. This would be part of their regular curbside recycling program, and processors would also ensure that the batteries are taped and the ends are taped properly. Certain batteries and light bulbs are potentially very hazardous to transport and handle. So these materials, in our opinion, should have more regulation, not less. Specifically with batteries, they need to be processed properly to avoid fires in trucks and at processing facilities that are accepting them. Our proposal would be that there would be no charge to the customer upon start of the service for the battery collection. And costs will be considered in the annual rate review with Clackamas County. As noted, we go through a public process for our rate review under the franchise system where we as haulers provide cost data points and a rate is set for service in collaboration with the county. So next slide, please. So, our proposal is a little different than you've seen before, but we are proposing to collect these items in a provided 18-gallon covered bin. So much like a current glass bin at many of the homes in the county, but this would have a cover on it. At the start of the service, the customer would be provided an 18-gallon covered bin, as I mentioned, and 4 5-gallon recyclable plastic bags for the clamshells, the plastic film, and the textiles. Items would then go into the bags and placed inside the 18-gallon covered bin that was provided to customers. Clamshells, plastic film, textiles, as well as the light bulbs would all be placed in those plastic bags and then put into the 18-gallon bin for collection at the curb. One thing to note on the light bulbs is that fluorescent tubes would not be part of that program that we're proposing. Next slide, please. Before we, before the haulers start any program, this one included, we would work in collaboration with Rick and his team in Clackamas County on education and outreach to the community. That's a huge part of any change to collection process or service. The setup, service, and collection schedule. We would like to set it up in a way where our customers notify the haulers to arrange a pickup each time they need it on their regularly scheduled every other week schedule. There may be some flexibility regarding the day of collection. Some haulers may provide options for customers, and potentially we've discussed automating that way that they can contact us for a collection via an app or web forms or some other form other than just the phone. Pricing, just comment on pricing. We've proposed a base monthly fee for this program for participants, which covers the continuous cost of the program, and a separate pickup fee for each collection. As with all rates, we would work with Rick and his team in Clackamas County to set the rates for these services. One thing I would like to point out and add is that in Washington County, their rate regulated haulers are a little further along in this process than we are. They've actually proposed rates for the enhanced recycling program in Washington County, and those rates are $2.50 per month as the base rate and a $9.25 per collection of that 18-gallon bin each time that's collected. There is no subscription. It's likely that Clackamas County rate regulated haulers could provide a much similar rate to this. But as always, we would work with the team and regulators before providing services to set those rates in the public process. We are proposing to offer this expanded recycling curbside service to all of our customers, but initially in the urban zones and then move into the rural zones. Another couple points of this is shared single family services 2 and 3 and 4plexes. I know that's a big topic of discussion in the region, and multifamily. We would work with customers in the 2, 3, and 4plexes with residents who reside in these types of units to provide and commence enhanced recycling services to them as well. Multifamily, I think that's a little bit bigger project, but that could be phase 2, where we could also work with the county and those multifamily complexes to provide some level of service through this program. And another thing that we had discussed as a group is depot and collection events. Those could be another way that we could expand these services to a lot more people in the county and hold some events throughout the year to collect these materials. So the haulers, we are open to providing this service and discussing options around reuse. I know reuse has been a big topic of discussion around this, the table. We do have some concerns with reuse, and that primarily comes from confirming responsible markets for these reuse items. We want to ensure that these markets are viable and sustainable for the items that we collect, and it's a much different process and distribution system than our normal curbside recycling that we collect. So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of go over our program in a little more detail. I will now introduce our next speaker, Pam Bloom, who is the owner of B&B Leasing. A couple of things we'd like to point out about Pam. She's been incredibly helpful in our organization as well as others. She's been highly recognized in the community and received numerous honors, including the 2009 Oregon City Chamber of Commerce Business Person of the Year, 2008 and 16 Oregon City Chamber of Commerce Business Person of the Year, the 2017 Mike McCarroll Award, and 2017 Volunteers in Medicine William Perch Award, and was also one of the 2021 recipients of the Hometown Hero Award for Clackamas County. Given freely over time, Pam is also a member of CCRA and a past chair. She's been a member and past chair of Providence Willamette Falls Hospital Board and the Clackamas County Foundation, as well as past chair of the Oregon City Library Foundation, an Oregon City Rotary member, and a past member of the Oregon City School Board. So Pam, with all those accolades, I will now hand the mic over to you. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Josh. That was a handful, but I appreciate that. And I am Pam Bloom. I'm the third generation owner of a family recycling and solid waste company. We now have about 50 employees. B&B was started by my grandfather in 1935 with a pickup and barrels for cardboard, for food waste, for garbage, and tin cans. And my father, Richard, purchased the business in 1959, and over the years, he has purchased Gladstone Disposal and Molalla Sanitary Service. And I've been managing the company since 1995 and has served as president since my father's death in 2004. May I have slide number 10, please? Next slide. Having owned a small business and been part of the garbage and recycling industry for 60 years plus, I know all the CCRA members, and overall, it's probably the most dedicated group of individuals who live and work here and care deeply about the communities they serve. My company supports other efforts in the community as well. You know, Clackamas County is woven into the fabric of all of us, whether it be a school nonprofit, a fundraiser, a community cleanup, special events, all of us, we're all there. And we know firsthand the importance of continuing services through many challenges. You know, we had the wildfire smoke, we had ice, and we've had a global pandemic. And over the years, you know, as we've all reflected, there have been many changes, tremendous changes in the collection, garbage, and recycling. And all of us as a group have all adapted to this on a daily basis. The regulated haulers understand the impact of our community as we provide stable living wages and benefits. Many are union jobs like my company, and the majority of our drivers are represented by the union. I want to outline some key takeaways of keeping this service under the rate regulated system, a system that promotes shared goals and values depicted in Metro's 2030 Regional Waste Plan, a plan with 19 goals and 105 related actions. The first one is the rate regulated and equitable. If provided under the rate regulations, the service will be available to all customers in unincorporated Clackamas County. This service will be standardized through the service area with all haulers provided the same level of service. The on-call nature of our program makes it more affordable for our customers.
I'm sorry, Pam.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there is no slide 10 on the slides that we have. And so everyone's looking at a blank space at the moment. Should we go back to slide 9?
Let's go back to the benefits, the key takeaways.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's no problem. Continuing, the on-call nature of our program makes it more affordable for our customers. They only pay for the service on the occasions when they need it. There you go. Affordability. The rates for the service will be set and regulated by Clackamas County, as are all our prices are. The price for the service will be in the control of the customer based on how often they need extra materials collected. The county manages a transparent rate setting process with a target rate of return for the haulers. The rate of return is our reserves and is used for other expenses that are not part of the rates, like charitable donation, taxes, and investments in our companies. The county analyzes our expenses and revenues in detail to ensure they are appropriate to protect the ratepayer. Whether we are family-owned or publicly traded, all companies are subject to the same rates of return. Franchise fees. We pay 5% of the gross receipts to help support the county. In addition, CCRA also pays $50,000 annually to support an outreach coordinator to educate youth in our area's schools and promotes waste prevention programs. CCRA initiated this effort and has been providing direct financial support for many years. Efficiency. As supported by the franchise system, we exercise extensive experience in maintaining effective routes that limit vehicle traffic. Rate-regulated haulers would also be able to make use of existing infrastructure to maximize efficiency and minimize customer investment. Work cooperatively. We use only permitted sorted facilities that report diverted materials, and we comply with all local and state laws. As we have shared today, and as outlined in the May 13th, 2021 letter to master recyclers from Clackamas County, page 1, and the staff report provided for this meeting, there are many reasons to provide these enhanced recycling services under the franchise. We ask all members of the Solid Waste Commission to support a recommendation to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners for enhanced recycling services to be provided under the franchise program, a system supporting our shared values. A limited license stops short of supporting the shared values of promoting equity through public set and regulated rates, stable living wage jobs with benefits, a 5% franchise fee on gross receipts paid to the county. While we have proposed a program here today, we will work with our county partners to develop a program that meets the needs of our community members. And we're glad to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. I think at this point in time, and I'm looking for my agenda in all my papers here. We will enter, does the commission, do any of the commissioners have any comments that they would like to, questions or comments that they would like to make? And I have lost my camera right at the moment, so I'm trying to come back in. Something else flashed in there. Sorry about that. Are there any comments or questions from the commissioners?
I had a question.
And I'm seeing that, okay, Cheryl?
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. I appreciated hearing your proposal, and I see that you were very thoughtful in putting it together. I guess I wanted to make sure I understood. So if you wanted to pick up on this system, you'd be doing a phone call. Is that how you're proposing to get the pickups of the materials?
Yeah, initially that's how it would roll out. And, you know, some of our companies have the ability to automate some of that with an app on your phone or a web-based program on our websites. So, you know, I think for the initial rollout, it would be a phone call, but our preference would be to automate that and make it a little bit simpler for the consumer to schedule those pickups via, you know, the internet or an app on your phone. So.
Did I also see letters in their billing statements? Was an option.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry, Josh. I said, did I also see options for an option for a statement in their bills?
A statement in their bills.
In their
meaning-
bill, when they get their either in person, you know, the paper bill or an electronic statement. Was there something in there as well?
Yeah, so the billing for many of our companies is currently electronic, not all of them. But I think that's a big push for a lot of the members to have digital billing or options to pay online outside of the normal mailed envelope.
Okay. So you do have that electronic option available too. Okay.
We currently do, yes.
I was also interested, you know, in reading the staff report that was put together. It looks like the commission's considering two options today, or whenever we deliberate. If a licensing option is chosen, with the, I know the staff report was really outlined some design principles that could be put in place. Would that still be something that your team would be pursuing under the license option, providing these enhanced services?
Cheryl, who's the question for?
To the presenters. If the license, it sounds like the presentation was focused on the franchising, and if the license option was chosen, would they be still pursuing providing these enhanced services?
This is Carla Schaeffer. I apologize for the black screen, but to answer your question, Cheryl, I believe it's still, of course, undetermined, and we would certainly work with Clackamas County. It's my understanding, and reading the same information that you have received, that haulers would be allowed to partake under that same limited license as anybody else.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer.
Anyone else with a question or a comment? Bill, anything from your perspective? No? Chad?
I thought
Well,
about
not about the presentation.
Oh, sorry.
Not about the presentation. I have comments during deliberation and some opinions to share at that time.
Okay.
Get to that point.
Great, thank you. Julie?
Yes, and this question is for the presenters. So if the option did move forward, I was just curious about how much time would we be looking at, rough estimate, to get things rolled out so collection starts happening at the customer level? Any thoughts about timeline or how much time that process could take or might take?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. As I kind of mentioned in my piece, we would be able to start battery collection immediately. That's a pretty easy implementation with our current routes and our current recycle routes. You know, it's really hard to predict how quickly we would be able to procure equipment such as the bins and the either vans or trucks to collect the material in. Because we all know on this call, the economy is a little challenging to get supplies and vehicles and equipment right now. But I would, you know, to toss out an estimate, I guess, without holding me completely accountable to that, would probably be within the next 3 months. At most, I think we could procure things and get the program off the ground. So again, a lot to be determined based on decisions made today and in the future, but hopefully that gives you somewhat of an idea.
Thank you, Josh. That's very helpful. Thank you.
There was one other thing that was mentioned. Chad, did you want to say something first? I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Chad? It's like you may be frozen. I was curious, you mentioned having your educational program in the schools for years. Do you see this as also adding, would you also add this service to that educational material pieces? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We work very closely with Oregon Green Schools and
Okay.
Laurel Bates on Rick's team, and I think education in the schools is critical on any program. So I think, to your point, one of the goals would be to get this into the schools. Oftentimes, families' children are the ones taking out the garbage or throwing recyclables away. So the more we educate them, the better. So absolutely, it would be included in schools.
So with this potential 3-month time frame, you'd still be able to maybe get something into the schools that could introduce the program before term ends, the year ends?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if the decision was made to move forward with the haulers program and keep it in the franchise system, education could begin immediately. And I agree with you that the sooner the better on that, the better educated the customer base is prior to rollout, the better off the program will be. So.
And then you also mentioned, starting with rural or with urban, then rural, and then you're through 2, 3, and 4 plexes, and then going into a phase 2 for multifamily. And then you also mentioned about opportunities for depot collections and collection events. I've been around long enough to know how what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficial those actually were as another tool for educating the public. How do you see yourself rolling that kind of information out, and where would you see maybe those depots being located, collection events being staged, things like that? Have you given much thought to that yet?
A little bit.
Okay.
I think, and I would agree with you on the educational piece. They can prove to be very educational to the community. As far as locations, we would probably work with partners or possibly some of the haulers in the Clackamas area to secure locations to hold them. I think advertising for those events is critical through social media outlets, through the counties, through the cities, through our haulers websites and Facebook pages. The more information, the better. As far as locations, that's hard to say, but in the past, we've secured parking lots or even some of our own locations to hold events such as this. So, but I completely agree with you on the education piece, and it's also an opportunity for others that may not be able to afford the service to bring their materials to a drop site or a staged location. So
That's a good point. So you do have experience in this across your haulers?
Yes, we do.
Actually, Carrie, if I could add to that as well. I do know that, for instance, City of Happy Valley does an annual cleanup where residents of the City of Happy Valley can bring their different items. They don't allow, general trash, but typically maybe like a bulky item pickup. They do some, special items collection at the Happy Valley Park. And I do know that all 3 regulated franchise haulers participate in that with providing boxes. It would be a perfect opportunity to, promote any new program that might be going out. And it would be a great place to also offer a depot for these types of hard to recycle items as well.
Thank you, Carla. Good point. Chad, you still, I can't, oh, there you are. Okay, now you're moving. It looked like
Yeah,
you
no,
were
thank
frozen
you.
there. Okay, good.
I did
So
freeze
you
for a
got your
moment there.
hand up there,
I
yeah.
do. So a couple questions. Back on timeline, is it that all the franchisees would implement a program like this at the same time, or could there be a phased approach in when and how this starts from one company to another?
I think I can try to take a stab at that. I think I would go back to, one of our key principles is to work with the county hand in hand on any implementation of any program. So I think there could be the opportunity that some haulers, depending on the areas that they service, could be able to roll it out a little bit quicker. And again, I think, Chad, a lot of that depends on the availability of equipment and sourcing the collection
Sure.
vehicles. But I think it could depend on, what your service area makeup is by hauler, and kind of go from there. But we're open to rolling this out as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question was, since expanded recycling could be an evolving process indefinitely, how are you guys looking at other waste streams? I assume you've landed at 5 items, 5 categories. What's the process for looking at the 6th, 7th, 8th, right? How does that work? Do you guys do a review or?
Sure. I think kind of as I mentioned in my presentation earlier, as time has evolved, we have continually looked at adding materials to the curbside collection program. So as far as a specific process, I don't know that I have an answer on that other than for one, community need, as well as analyzing the waste stream, right, and the cleanliness of the recycle bins. But I think one of the key components for these enhanced recycling items are having viable and sustainable markets to deliver them to. And I think there was a question in the chat box around, where these materials end up. And I think one of the benefits of the franchise system is that there is regulatory framework that essentially we have to report where these materials are delivered to and what they're being used for. So, a lot of the future on what other additional items that we can add to the program or potentially have to subtract from the program is whether or not there's markets available for these materials. So.
Okay, thank you. And Evan, I saw your note too. Thank you as well for clarifying.
Cheryl, your hand is still up. Would you like to?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, one other question. What have your franchisees been saying about the option for this, or have you been able to do any public outreach yet to the potential customers?
So we have not done any outreach to our customers, to be transparent. I do know that there is definitely an interest in these materials and finding, ways for companies to pick it up and collect it at the curb. There are outlets for some of these materials at grocery stores and different places in the community, but I think a lot of it comes down to convenience and as recycling has continued to enhance and grow, there's certainly a need for additional items to be recycled. So we have not done any outreach at this point until we kind of figure out a direction as to where we're going to be headed.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, I have one last question for the presenters.
Okay.
So my question, I remember seeing textiles as one of the items you're interested in. My question is, would those textiles be intended to donate to charitable organizations that would then reuse those clothing items or those textile items? Or is this more for recycling the fibers in the textiles for other uses?
I guess I'm the only one answering questions, so I'll continue to talk. and do my best. So initially, our program was to use the fibers and make them into rags or, things of that nature. I do think there's options for reuse and or, other depots or outlets that accept these materials. One of the challenges of that is commercial hauling and the availability of dumping those materials and what kind of quantities they can take on a commercial level. So as I've stated before, we're certainly open to looking at as many options as possible out there that we can feasibly do, and working with the community and the county to look at their recommendations or their needs on what to do with this material. So
Thank you.
Any other comments from the presenters?
Madam, want to make sure nothing else. Madam, oh,
Go ahead,
Pam,
Rick. I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
so Pam unmuted, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I just wanted to thank the Solid Waste Commission for taking their time to have this discussion with us. Because, we as communities, as haulers, we love what we do. And we also want to make the best of all situations when it comes to our businesses. So we greatly appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I apologize because I have a black
I
screen.
can see you there, Carla. You're coming up with a nice yellow circle around your.
Perfect.
around
And
your name. Yeah.
I can't raise my hand either, but just in some general comments for all of you on the Solid Waste Commission. I know that your job going forward here is going to be a complex one, and I mean it's very complex for us as well. And we have to look at all of this in the light of the customer or the consumer, and no matter what road we seem to go down from here, I mean, we all live in the day-to-day world where we're buying items at the store and we're looking at packaging and everything is very confusing. And so, whatever approach we take here in Clackamas County, we have to realize, what is the consumer really going to see? And are we, giving mixed messages? Are we going to be confusing them more with what is recyclable in their curbside cart? What is not recyclable? What's recyclable through another program? I mean, it's kind of an interesting, world that we're living in. We do already have that contact with our customers. So, we do have a way to definitely communicate with them. And, I think that as franchise haulers and the county together, that, we really focus on the foundation of, the fundamentals of to reduce, reuse. And then the option is either to recycle or landfill. And really, is one always better than the other? Not necessarily. To again, that whole education to the consumer and to our customers and, residents of the county, we need to really work and focus on that message to really get out there. And I think we do try to do that as, the regulated haulers, to really tell our customers that, recycling is great and it really fits in some situations, but to be a wishful recycler can really make the system a little bit more not so good. So, again, we just really need to work with, getting people to recycle exactly what is right and learning when maybe it's not the best way to recycle. So no matter how the expanded recycling goes forward, I think that message also has to be out there. And certainly this is a great way to, potentially get those new items into the recycling system to where they fit in and work well for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I kind of want to have be cognizant of time. I just kind of noticed the time.
Oh, yes.
So
thank you.
we do want to, make sure we have time for public comment. And I noticed that there have been a couple questions that have come in, and if folks have questions that they want to put in, they can put them in that Q&A portion, and we should have thought about that ahead of time. This is kind of new to me, so I apologize to those attending, but if you can put stuff in that, your questions in there, and we will answer those afterwards, and make sure that that gets out on the website. And for those folks that are on the interested party list, as we've been doing, we'll try to send that directly to them. So just so we can move on.
Okay, so we've had our presentation. Do you want to do, Rick, you've got on the agenda here, an expanded recycling service presentation.
I think the public comment is ahead of that.
Yes, it is. That's right. Thank you for that.
So we have,
let's give some time for public comment. And I do see some things in the chat.
yeah, we will probably answer
Address
those
those after?
questions
Okay,
after.
all right.
Yeah, I guess.
Go ahead, Rick.
Go ahead, Madam Chair. You have it. Thank you.
I was going to say, Shamaya, do you want to direct the public comments, please?
Yes, ma'am. We have no hands raised in the attendees, but we do have two people that would like to speak, Adam Winston and Will Matthias.
Okay.
And I noticed that Mr. Weaver has raised his hand as well.
Okay,
Maybe we should just, why don't we just make clear, if you are in the attendees and you wish to provide some public comment, please do so by raising your hand using the raise hand button in Zoom.
Yeah, Madam Chair, there is that piece to read about the public comment.
Right. Thank you. And I just so you know, Shamaya, I do not see all of what you're seeing, so I don't see those hands necessarily. So I want you to know, before the public comments, I want you to know that we have read all of the emails that have come in, and we understand that sentiment that came in. We'd also like to limit this to no more than a minute each, please, so that we can get everyone in and get your comments before we move forward. So there you go, Shamaya. You're on.
Okay, first up, we have Caleb Weaver. Will you please unmute yourself?
Members of the commission, staff, this is Caleb Weaver with Ridwell again. Thank you for the opportunity to make a presentation last month. I just wanted to respond to a couple of things, to clarify a few things in response to the presentation today. One, I just want to say we are fully supportive of adding batteries to the standard service that everybody receives. I think that's a great idea, and that can be done regardless of what the expanded optional programs might look like. Second, would just note that the haulers, some of the haulers have actually set up competing programs to Ridwell to provide that on an optional service. That is something that they could do under the license approach, or that it doesn't need to be under the franchise system for them to be able to do that. They've done that, say, in Vancouver. And in fact, the Waste Connections representative noted that this is a much different business model providing the service, right? You can't use garbage trucks that are going to compact the materials for these items. And one of the other hauler representatives noted that today, that providing that infrastructure. Ridwell has that. That's what we built because it's a different service. It's complementary. Again, we don't disagree that the franchise model makes sense. What we're talking about here, and this was estimates from Washington County's analysis, was that we're talking about less than 2% of the overall volume of waste that haulers are picking up. So we're talking about a pretty small volume and an optional service where there's real benefits, as a couple of you have indicated in questions, of with these unstable markets, locking into a program based on set rates just doesn't make, and unstable markets for some of these items just doesn't make a lot of sense. And so finally, I would just say a lot of these public policy goals around serving everybody in the community around tracking and knowing reporting and knowing where things are going, that can all be done through the licensing approach. And so again, would very strongly encourage everybody to support the staff's recommendation to pursue that licensing approach so that the haulers can provide their version of the service and that we can get the appropriate innovation in helping tackle these problematic items that can be recycled and creating reuse opportunities and all the other things to help achieve our waste reduction goals. Thank you all very much for the time and appreciate your hard work on this issue.
Appreciate your comment, Caleb. Thank you. Anyone else, Shemaya?
Yes, we do. We have Adam Winston.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the time. Again, my name is Adam Winston, Director of Operations for Waste Management. Just a bit of a background. I've been, except for a very brief period of time, I've been working in the Northwest since 1999. So just briefly about the franchise and why I think it's important to move forward with the haulers. First of all, Clackamas County entered into a public-private partnership in the form of a franchise for several reasons. Among them include to establish a cost-effective service that will protect the health and safety of its constituents and be part of protecting the environment. Safety is of paramount importance to waste management and Clackamas County haulers. Our commercial driver's license employees receive extensive training to ensure the safe operation of our vehicles while providing excellent customer service. In addition, most of our county's regulated haulers employ drivers that are members of the Teamsters Union, but whether union or non-union, as employers, we are proud to provide excellent living wage jobs and benefits. In addition, being a commercial regulated driver and employer comes with great responsibility. As a result, we are accountable to answer to several governing bodies, including the Department of Transportation. And why this is important? Because of this, you can be sure that our vehicles are properly maintained and can safely and effectively handle the solid waste and recycling commodities that we collect daily for our communities. From an environmental perspective, there are many advantages to the franchise system. Because each hauler has specific service areas, it reduces the amount of truck traffic on the road. In addition, all franchise haulers have moved toward cleaner fleets, utilizing biodiesel, diesel retrofits, or compressed natural gas as their fueling source. Finally, by keeping this new service offering within the franchise system, it will provide all the citizens of Clackamas County the opportunity to participate at a more affordable price. For these reasons, we are proposing to work with Clackamas County staff, as we've done in the past, to offer an enhanced recycling service that fits within the existing franchise. By doing this, you can be assured that our constituents are being offered a superior and environmentally safe and responsible service that fits within the already successful solid waste and recycling system, utilizing the current solid waste and recycling service providers. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
So there is a comment in the chat room, Adam, as long as you're here. If you want to look at that.
We should save that. Yeah, we'll pass that along.
Pass that along. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Patrice Ekstrom.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Patrice. Thank you.
Hi. I recently moved into unincorporated Clackamas County, and I was very excited to sign up with Ridwell because I had been collecting for probably the past 2 years, all my clamshells, styrofoam, all sorts of plastic film, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm very excited that all these other companies would like to start collecting some of that too, but I didn't hear styrofoam in the mix. And I feel like that is a really important product or item to be picked up because so many restaurants still use takeaway boxes made of styrofoam. I'm also wondering why Ridwell is allowed to work in the city of Portland, but not in unincorporated Clackamas County. Those were my main questions. I'm a big fan of Ridwell, as you can tell, and I was disappointed to have my service stopped because because of this situation that you're all talking about right now. So is it because that they're not a franchisee? Is that the only way that they could operate where I live? Those are my questions.
All right, thank you. Rick, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, ma'am. That's why Ridwell is in the way the code is currently written. Ridwell is in violation of the chapter 1003 of the code, collecting solid waste for compensation. So that's where that is. Thank you.
And what about styrofoam? Would that be picked up by someone, do you think?
I can't answer that right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jeff Petty.
Hello, Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Excellent. I appreciate you unmuting me. My name is Jeff Petty, also an unincorporated Clackamas County resident who was because it
Hey, Jeff, you're going in and out.
Yeah.
materials that we didn't want to throw away or couldn't be recycled. We certainly didn't terminate our waste service because we had signed up for a service like Ridwell. So I'm curious, I guess, if anyone wants to respond to why a service that also recycles and reuses material seems like competition for a provider who was otherwise taking our trash and general recycling. Now, I know some of the presenters here seem to represent some smaller companies. Unfortunately, the only waste management service we have is a very large company. And I guess I'm cynically worried that they would not care about some of the issues that some of the smaller service providers might be interested in expanding to.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Jeff.
Next, we have Heather Ray.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just have a procedural question here. It seems like the panelists are gone, right? The presenters, they're not on the call anymore, or are they still on the call?
That is correct as far as I can see, yes.
Okay, so I was under the impression that the public would get to ask questions of the presenters. So Rick, you said that you would pass our questions along, is that correct? And then how would we get those questions answered?
So I think what we'll do, I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't anticipate that, but we will put together the questions that everybody's asked in the Q&A section, or many of you do, so you could do that. And then we'll put that answer up on the website, or the questions and the answers on the website. And for those that are on the interested party list, that will probably come out in a, as a follow-up, as we've done on the last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Does that work?
Chair,
Thank you, Heather.
Chair and Rick, may I just jump in here and just mention too that the presenters are still listening in to the presentation. They're just not in the Solid Waste Commission space any longer. And that approach was consistent with how Ridwell's presentation worked last time. So thanks.
Thank you, Evan.
We have a few more hands up, and next is Jeff Petty.
I think we already heard from Jeff.
Yeah, I already got my question asked.
Thank you.
Okay, his hand was still up, I'm sorry. Next is Katie Diggins.
We have Katie Spray there, Shemaya. Shall we proceed?
There's two, I'm so sorry. Katie Spray.
Okay. Hello, Katie?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. I just wanted to comment that as real estate prices have been going up, there have been fewer and fewer recycling facilities to take things like plastic wrap and styrofoam to. And I haven't seen that service. I haven't seen Waste Management step up to fill that need. So that was, it didn't even feel to me like Ridwell was a waste collection service so much as me paying, felt like me paying my neighbor to collect the styrofoam from our cul-de-sac to take it to a facility, because it's now, there used to be one just over in Tualatin, and now I have to drive forever, like way farther. So yeah, that's my perspective on Ridwell. And I know I have a few neighbors who feel the same way, that it didn't seem to be in the same niche as Waste Management in any form. And I wanted to make sure that that got heard.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have Kitty Diggins next.
Hello, Kitty.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, great. Thanks for letting me speak. I want to echo what the previous people who've spoken have said. I mean, regarding Ridwell, I was extremely excited about it, and I joined up and was very happy about it. And that's how I found out about this meeting, was through Ridwell, which has been discontinued where I live. And so one thing that I'm curious about is how high of a priority is it, as far as really trying to get the services going that can take these other items to be recycled. I mean, it's a huge priority to me. I've always been a big recycler. But it was just kind of like getting excited about something and then deflated. And I know several of my neighbors felt the same way. And I also didn't see that there was any kind of it didn't seem that there would be any sort of competition with Ridwell versus the other waste management haulers. So I guess I'm just wondering, is this something that we're going to hear about or see results of soon in the near future, or is it just something that's just kind of being tossed around? And I'll end my comment there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Would staff like to take a reply to that question? Okay.
No, we'll hold those.
Okay, we'll wait. All right.
Okay, we have one more public comment from Mary Angerman.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Mary, thank you.
So I was also very excited to join Ridwell and was particularly impressed with how hard they work to find true answers to the questions. For example, with the cloth, not just to beat it all into fibers, but to find low-income people that could actually use it. And the other thing that they provide is that every time they have a delivery, they have something different that they have gone out of their way to find a good place for me to get my things reused. Like it was Christmas lights, and then it was Christmas decorations, and they're a different thing every time, in addition to the other things that they pick up all of the time. And so the batteries, I knew that I could always go and pay my $5 and get rid of my batteries, but they had they had all of these other things that I could move out of my house and see it going to a happy place. And it just seems to me as if there should be room for somebody like that who's being creative. It's not that big a company, just doing good things for the environment. It's not, and I too have Waste Management with their huge trucks that come down the street, just mammoth, and we have to pay to have our street paved, and they bring their heavy trucks down, and we don't figure our street will last as long as it would without them. So if I had a small family hauler, I might look differently about Ridwell, but because I have Waste Management, it's just a totally different situation, and you need to appreciate that for those of us that have Waste Management. It's just not the same as what you're even talking about. So please find it in your hearts to let Ridwell operate, so that those of us who were so happy to find it don't have to give it up. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mary, for your comments.
I believe we have Will Matthias to speak next.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Will Matthias. I work for Republic Services. Clackamas County haulers are proud partners of the communities we serve in. There are a variety of benefits our companies do provide through the franchise system. And some of those benefits have already been spoken to, but I just want to touch on a few. Accountability for the workforce and living wage jobs with company provided benefits to our employees. Designated territories have been set up, and that's to create an environment where vehicles aren't driving all over the place. It reduces risk, wear, and the overall carbon footprint on our of collection on our communities. All of our rates are reviewed, and they're set through a public process with county regulators and oversight by the Board of Commissioners, which ensures costs are controlled on behalf of the ratepayer. 5% franchise fees are paid by the haulers. That amounts to approximately $1 million annually. These fees fund the solid waste program at Clackamas County, including the staff. They also fund code enforcement for solid waste issues, recycling education, waste prevention, and more. One other benefit of the franchise fees paid by the haulers is that a portion is dedicated to the county's dump stoppers program, which removes over 100,000 pounds of waste from our forest, including cars, tire, scrap metal, and hazardous material. The franchise system, as mentioned before, also supports the goals of Metro's 2030 Regional Waste Plan. Our companies collectively also offer other benefits. Some benefits include driving diversity programs, partnership of haulers and drop-off collection events, and more. There's also programs offered individually by our companies, including community grant programs. Republic Services offers a grant program called Committed to Serve, and we have utilized that grant program, or it's been utilized in the Oregon markets. There are also bike donation programs and more. There are good reasons for the franchise system that are beneficial to our communities. Recycling and improving our environment is a foundation of Oregon's values. And so eliminating those regulations to allow even one company to operate outside the franchise system does not necessarily advance the values and potentially undermines them. Our hope is that the Waste Commission will put adequate study and time into considering whether to change Clackamas County's code at the request of Ridwell, where they don't have rate oversight, and they set their own pricing, and they don't necessarily pay franchise fees into the solid waste program for Clackamas County. We ask that you examine if it's necessary or if there are more accountable and equitable ways to meet the community's recycling needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Madam Chair, at this time, we don't have any more hands raised for public comment.
Great, thank you very much, Shemaya. All right, so we are at 4:15. We were scheduled to go till 4:30. Rick, do you feel that's time for you to be able to
Trying to see if it's better to just spend a little time for you to deliberate. I don't know how the commissioners are on time. I have several slides. I could kind of run through those quickly. I think a lot of the things have already been said and are in the are in the staff report. So I think the benefit for the commission is really for you to have time to
have time for comments? Okay.
Comment. And
all right, then let's open it up for comments from the commissioners. And someone want to volunteer to go first? Looks like Bill, you had your hand up. Yeah.
I have put a lot of time into examining everything about this issue over the past week and months. And where I stand on this is I am very much in favor of staying with our existing franchise system and working with our good haulers to try to bring forward a more enhanced system of collection. I think they've done a very good job, and they have indicated a willingness to work with us and to do this enhanced process and move forward in that fashion, rather than to change our codes to allow for private collection of this. The only player that is out there is Redwell at this point. And what do? We change the codes, change the ordinance, and the private company goes out of business next year. Who knows? Do we have to go back and recreate the wheel then and go back to the way it was? I think we have a very good system of coordinating and oversight of the solid waste and recycling system through our existing franchise system, and that's what I would recommend. And I would only support option 2 of the recommendation because of that.
All right, thank you.
I'm done.
Madam Chair, could I go ahead and run through my slides?
Sure.
Would
Go
that
for
be
it.
okay? Let's see if I can get this. I can do this shared screen.
While you're doing that, Rick, let me just ask, is this going to be a hard, 4:30 going to be a hard stop for anybody? Or if we go over a little bit, will that work out okay for you? Cheryl's okay, everyone okay with that? Okay.
Okay, can everybody see my slide?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, I would be remiss if I did not thank my Washington County colleagues for kind of putting together this or kind of doing the bones of this presentation. So or the slides. And so one of the key policy questions I think for us today is, should we, number one, provide an opportunity for community members in the unincorporated county area to have materials collected for recycling beyond those that we do provide on a curbside basis. And that's kind of the first question. Do we want to do that? And then I think a big question is, how are we going to do that? That's obviously what is in the report. And then I think as we go down, we may not get to this today. I think if we go, depending on what program elements would the commission like to assure that are included in any program that we put together. And so we know what recycling is. It's any process by which solid waste materials are transformed into new products. And we certainly, I don't think the curbside programs have ever said that we're going to capture every single recycle product that can be recycled. Certainly when they started, these were the predominant materials that could be recovered in a marketplace. Was what we put on the curb. One of the things that we try to do when working with our franchisees or others, and in the county when we're putting on these programs, It's very important that we have consistent end markets and outlets. You know, markets have changed over the years since many of us started in this. So a lot of the items anymore, you do pay to get rid of them. There's not much money coming back on, you know, to help offset the collection cost within our existing system. So there have been some changes. We're moving materials to at least an outlet that can do something with them. In the case of, you know, for example, in the case of batteries, those cause problems at transfer stations and material recycling facilities. They would not sort well in the mixed bin. Is there another way to collect those, which was presented to us today and at the last meeting. So, you know, this is why things are on our list. It can be separated easily from other materials in a cart. Does not impact the sorting equipment, as everybody has heard. It was on the, you know, the commission knows, and I think everybody on that's attending here knows about the problems with plastic bags being in our curbside bin. Does it make environmental sense? Not just, you know, so we're looking at things from a greenhouse gas perspective. We try to take things in a total life cycle analysis because we are kind of moving away a little bit from that commodity. Does it make sense to collect it and have it sorted? Is there enough material there to sort for? You know, are we dealing with a very small amount that we can't pick up on the curb? And the ability for generators to identify and prepare that material, prepare it well. So this is just a quick snapshot of what, you know, what we're doing. I think Mr. Weaver kind of alluded to the fact, and we're all aware that these materials are a fairly small percentage of what is out on the curb, and so, or what is in our trash. These percentages come from the DEQ's waste comp study. And so using those and applying it to the residential garbage amount, this tells you, and these are all in tons. So it kind of tells you how many tons. So it's about 2,000, 2,500 tons that would be available on an annual basis in this program. One of the things that we're really interested in targeting in one of our focus areas right now in our system is looking at that food and trying to get that food collected from commercial, and we may be talking about more residential collection as well. The materials that we talked about, all of these materials we have promoted, especially the first three and the last two. We have always promoted these, and as folks, the public has said, you know, promoted as drop-offs. They have places to go, you know, where they can be responsibly handled. And what we're hearing is people, you know, don't want to double up their trips, aren't looking to do that. They're looking for that convenience of having it picked up at their curb. So all of these have, you know, do have an established outlets. The newest one is just a timing thing that the clamshells, some of the clamshells, a specific, one of the specific polymers, what we say is our number one, or the same thing that your Coke bottle is made of. Those now do have at least one outlet that's pretty solid, and we have are pretty assured that that will be a long-term outlet for that material, and that's just brand new. That has just happened within the past 6 months, so that's fairly new. So as we've been talking about, we have opportunities. We have opportunities, you know, as we look at this, what's the regulatory approach that the commission wants to recommend going forward? Is it in this franchise fully regulated that's been well described today? Is it in an exemption, like completely remove it from the code of collecting solid waste for compensation, from that part of the code, and it call it out as an exemption. This is what the city of Portland has done. Or do we look at somewhere in between that still puts sideboards up on this activity, allows multiple players, involves a code change, that sort of thing. So do we want to do that? And some will note that we do have a recycling license chapter in our code. And that chapter was written, just after the Recycling Opportunity Act came into being in 1983. And this was written just a couple years, our license was written a couple years after that to capture those recyclers that were the commodity recyclers of the day, the warehousers, the international papers, the schnitzers, people picking up commodities and paying for those materials to be collected, or exchanging the value of their collecting that material to take that material. So that the license was written in that sense, because it was written because the code says you can't haul solid waste for compensation, and all of these items are solid waste per the state statute and our code. And so that's why we find ourselves in this situation. So a limited, so those are kind of our regulatory options that are before you. Little bit of engagement to date. This is in the, all of this I think is in one or two of the staff reports. And we have been responding to the emails from the public, at least generally. There are quite a few. So we've been at least sending out notices to them on a regular basis. Sorry. So our approach right now is to, respond. Our recommendation before you is to respond to community interest, provide opportunity for this expanded recycling collection, and look into that license, permit, registration type regulatory framework, somewhere in between where we are with the franchisees and where we would be with a total exemption. I think it's valuable to do that, and especially for some of the some of the key things that the public has raised, and I think you as commissioners raise over time, all the time, when we talk about adding new programs and that sort of thing. We want to make sure they're going to the right place. We want to make sure they're the right materials that are being collected. And so that's, that would be paramount in anything that we would do. And so any other of those sideboards that we would want to put on a license or a registration, we will solicit, from our franchise group, from you, the Solid Waste Commission, from other local governments, from service providers, because there is, as we've mentioned earlier, there are other service providers in this space, not just Ridwell. There was a locally grown James's Neighborhood Recycling that did some of these same things and even picked up other items. So we knew and are aware that there are other businesses out there that may be interested in this space. But the key thing for us is we want to maintain that authority over the solid waste. We think it's very important for all the reasons that the collectors have raised today, and that we have raised with the commission in the past and over time, every time we add on a new program. So this is a big question before you today. Should the county provide an opportunity for those community members? And, how do we want to see that done? Develop a program with the existing franchisees, which you saw today, create a code amendment. And that's it from me, as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Rick. So that helps move this discussion on the part of the commission members to have time to talk about this. And Bill was good enough to start this out. Is there anyone else that has any strong or any comments, any feelings, any support one way or another? Chad?
Yeah, I can go ahead. So Rick, I think you said something important, that it isn't necessarily or the other option. There could be a blend. I agree with Commissioner Potter that keeping the franchise system intact is important, but I think more important than that is that we encourage the kind of ingenuity that these companies are bringing, and that there's motivation to do that, and not just from a reactionary standpoint, which is kind of what I think I'm seeing here is these options, and not even all of them, but some of the options are being added by the existing franchisees only because there's another company out there doing it. So if there is an option to do a licensing approach, but figure out how to pull those into a franchise option down the road, and I'm sure that's even more complicated, I would really support that. I think it's important that this system and these regulations encourages and drives new avenues for recycling and reuse.
Other comments? Well, let me add mine then. One of the public members made the comment, and I agree with her. This is a very complex process, decision, discussion. And there are a lot of things to think about here. I understand what is being said. I understand the convenience, that piece. But I also understand that our current franchise system serves a lot of people who can't use this individual service because they can't afford it. They live in apartment complexes. They live in multifamily. They live in what was it called, 2, 3, and 4 plexes. They live in neighborhoods where they don't have access to a lot of these services. And I think one of the things that the county has been working with the haulers with over the years and have developed a good process for is trying to serve those individuals. So I'm coming back to more the equity piece and being able to serve a number of people at one time. I also appreciate the fact that the haulers have always been very open to adjusting the items that they pick up. And when markets drop, they're still there. If there is any market at all, and yet we will look at it if there's no market, we may pull that from the curb. I love the regulations, the county having the franchise and the authority to maintain, those regulations and keep them in place. If we were to go to a license, if we were to go to some other way of collecting, I would want to be assured that all of these regulations are in place for whoever it is and all those reporting requirements. I'm not sure we're quite there yet. I think I'd like to hear a little bit more and have some more discussion as a group. I'm not quite ready to support a total one decision at this point without a little bit more input. The other pieces, many of you know I've been around for a long time, and I know the education system out there for it within the schools. I know the depots are out there. These were all set up for a reason. And yes, we would continue them, but do we add these materials to all that educational service piece? And who pays for that? Right now, this is a service paid by our franchise fees and by the haulers themselves through this group of haulers that presented today. I think there are a lot of pieces that play into this as a decision. And I'd like to, I'm just presenting that out here today. Right at the moment, I tend to, if I were to vote today, I would vote along with Bill Potter to maintain the current system. The haulers are willing to look at a way to adjust their services. I think they came up with some doable ideas. I think a 3-month implementation time is pretty realistic. So I'd like to give that a chance, I guess, and see if that will work, because it will serve more people. That's kind of where I'm sitting right at the moment. So, any other comments? Do we
Madam
feel?
Chair?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Cheryl.
I guess I just, in bringing into the room some of the conversation, I did want to point out in the staff report, the design principles for expanded recycling. I've heard a couple of comments about if the license option was on the table, you know, would there be sideboards? And I think that's an important part of the staff report to consider, because I agree with you, it's a very tough decision. We've heard lots of good information from both sides. But I think the staff report is trying to bridge that middle ground, and just understanding that there would, it sounds like, and I guess, Rick, this is a question to you. With those design considerations that are presented in the staff report, would those be included in the license? Because I see it includes like a fee, some oversight on the materials and things like that.
These were, Madam Chair and Commissioner Bell, yeah, these were, you know, our starting points and where we wanted to give some ideas. I mean, this will not be the last time, and we're not going to go away in a dark room and create the rule. You know, if we make this change, whichever way it goes, both are going to require rule changes. We would be back in front of you, you know, once and possibly twice if we don't get it right the first time, right? So we will be taking input, and that was kind of the purpose of my last slide. You know, anything that we do, rule and code changes, will happen, you know, will happen in front of you and be very transparent, and the public, the interested party list will be advised, and you know, so yeah.
That's good to know, and that's a good reminder. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, if I may, can I also ask Rick maybe a clarifying question?
Of course.
In consideration, if there was that C option, the recycling or permitting set up, would that allow our haulers and our franchisees to also pursue that the same way it might open up opportunities for private companies such as Redwell and the others?
At this point, absolutely. I think that's they would be able to do that. We're still having some, you know, depending on where it goes, we'll have the more discussions on that. But yeah, our first thought is absolutely they will have the opportunity to participate in that space if the commission and the board decides to make that change.
Okay, thank you.
Evan, it looks like you're ready to, are you wanting to speak?
Well, I was just going to ask if, Madam Chair, you or commissioners wanted to make a motion as to next steps. And if your motion is to vote, then we should read the two options out.
Okay. So I am opening it up. Is there a motion one way or another? Do you want to recommend option C and follow what the staff recommendation is? Do I hear a motion?
Chair.
You want me to?
Go ahead, Evan.
Chair, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear enough, but it sounded to me like you were almost making a motion yourself to.
I could do that.
But it's on the table for anybody.
Okay, no, let me make sure that I have it. Let me look at my options here and make sure that I get this correct. So option 1 is recommend to the Board of Commissioners that the county develop code amendments allowing a business to be licensed or permitted to provide limited solid waste collection services of materials for recycling for compensation in unincorporated Clackamas County with appropriate fees, rules, and regulations. Option 2, recommend to the Board of Commissioners that the county develop administrative rule amendments requiring franchise collectors to offer subscription-based expanded recycling to customers for additional source-separated solid waste materials for an additional fee, subject to fee and regulatory rules and code and administrative rules. Now, I heard a reference to an option C, and I don't see this in the staff letter. So is there an option C that differs from this?
No, ma'am.
So we're looking at 2 options,
Yes.
2 basic options, okay, for expanded recycling.
Are you looking for a motion?
We're looking, if you'd like to make one, Bill, that would be good.
Okay, I would move that we recommend option 2 to put forward to the Board of County Commissioners or back to staff, whatever needs to happen on that one. It's the one that I feel more comfortable supporting both in the short and the long run for the county.
Okay, Bill has recommended option 2, recommend to the Board of Commissioners that the county develop administrative rule amendments requiring franchise collectors to offer subscription-based expanded recycling to customers for additional source-separated solid waste materials for an additional fee, subject to fee and regulatory rules and code and administrative rules. Do I have a second? I will second. All those in favor? Any more
Do we do a hand
discussion?
raise?
I'm sorry. Oh, there, Carlton. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had something to say, Carlton. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And I caught,
Okay.
what was that?
Can we
Go ahead, Rick.
call the roll? Madam
Okay.
Chair, I just want to make sure because it's hard to capture. I just want to
I
make sure.
agree. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Bill,
So for the ayes, we have Mr. Potter, Mr. Palmier, Mr. Bushy, Chair Creighton. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay. And the nays,
Although the nays, yes.
yep, would be Ms. Bell, Ms. Hamilton, and Mr. Euler.
I'm actually, due to the fact that I'm on staff, I am abstaining.
So we have
So that's 4-2.
Mr. 2, okay. So it looks like we have a majority that would like to move forward with option
2.
2. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
We will, make that, carry that recommendation of the commission forward when we go to the board.
All right.
And there we go.
Okay. Rick, would you like to any final statements on what's going to happen with the questions and answers and the chats in the chat room?
I think, we will do our best to get the answers out to everybody. We'll try to do that by the first of the week, Monday or Tuesday. Hopefully you'll see something on the website, as well as this recording will probably be up on the website, I would imagine, fairly quickly on Monday, if not sooner. And then we will also probably send out those questions and answers to the list that we have on our interested party list.
Okay,
And then
great.
our next, staff will be talking about your recommendation, and also we will be taking the item to a policy session of the board. And of course, everybody will be notified when that occurs.
Okay. Thank you. We have one last action item. Do we want to do that this evening? Well, two actually. We have an action item of electing officers, and we have the updates if they're.
We will pass on updates. I know your time is
Okay.
important here.
Shall we go ahead and do action item number 6, which is elect officers? And that would be a chair and a vice chair.
That is correct. And those positions are that you vote on within the commission, and they each are 2-year terms.
Okay.
And Corey Hansen was serving as the vice chair, and he is no longer on the commission. So we need to have a new vice chair at the same time.
Okay. So do we have anyone who would like to step up and become the chairman of the commission?
I have a question.
Sure, Bill.
Are you available to do another term, Carrie?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, that's my question.
You mean, do I personally have time, or does?
Is it kosher to do another term as chair, or is there some limitation in the bylaws?
That's what I don't know.
They are 2-year terms in the bylaws, and there's not a provision for, there's, if you don't vote on somebody for a while, for example, carrying meetings, if you're in the middle of an action and you're carrying things over the meeting, the commission can choose to, delay the vote, which is kind of happened now. We wanted to make sure that all the members were present. For example, Mr. Euler couldn't be at, a couple our last meeting, and so that didn't seem right. So, Madam Chair, I think, has anybody expressed an interest to you, Madam Chair?
Not to me directly, no.
I would be willing to take the chair role.
Okay, Chad, thank you.
Excellent.
Would remind me, Rick, I apologize. The
okay.
process for this is making a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
You would make a motion, a second, vote.
You're looking for a nomination type of motion, is that what you're looking for?
Right.
Well, I would recommend that we nominate Chad as chairman for the next term.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved in. Alan seconds. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Looks like unanimous. All right. Congratulations, Chad.
You're not smiling, Chad.
Not smiling, Chad.
I'm just gonna miss Carrie in this role so much. It's hard to fill those shoes.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine. And the vice chair. Let's look at that position. Is there anyone that would like to offer to do that, or do we have a nomination? I see you kind of leading towards the screen, Carlton.
I apologize, Carrie. I actually have an ear problem. I can only hear my right ear.
No, I was just wondering if you might be stepping up to be vice chair.
Oh.
Nope. Okay. Alan?
No, I'm going to be retiring in
good for
3 months,
you.
so I don't feel like being, an officer of the board. I'm going to be stepping down from is appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. Bill?
I guess I would be available for that.
Oh, good. Okay.
Nobody else is jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah. Well, let me jump in and nominate you. I nominate Bill Potter to be vice chair. Or I move, I guess it's a motion. I move to have Bill Potter the vice chair.
I second.
Chad seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there we go. Well, thank you both.
Thank you. And it looks like with Mr. Bushy out, we will be looking for another industry representative if that seems going to be appropriate. And then we will get Mr. Bushy back on as a public member sometime in the future.
Yes.
Very possible.
Solid waste doesn't leave your soul.
That's for sure.
All right. With that, I think we said we were going to save the updates. It looks like we are at the end of the meeting. And if somebody would like to make a motion that we,
I will so
Adjourn?
move to adjourn the meeting.
all right. Second?
I will second that as well.
Thanks, Chad. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. It's been a
Thank you,
tough,
commissioners, for your work.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
and thank you. If there's any public still out there and haulers and others, we thank you for
Yes.
joining our meeting today.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.